All right, we are here to do Unit 8, last one. Woo! Please make sure as you get ready to take your exam that you spend a little bit of time with this beforehand, and you can rewatch the videos or just spend time with your study guide, whatever you're most comfortable with doing. But that night before or that morning of, please just spend a little bit of extra time with this and make sure that you are ready. Also, keep in mind that there are 9 units that we covered as well. I don't think they're going to really pull anything off of Unit 9. It's a short unit, and a lot of the stuff gets covered throughout other units throughout the year. Our human impact just comes up over and over again. So I think you're good. But spend some extra time with this, please, before you take your exam. Your ecosystems, Unit 8, what we're going to be looking at here. Your first one is the rocky intertidal area. This is the area above water at low tide, and then sometimes below water at high tide. So you have the water kind of coming in and out, and you have tide pools that will form along this rocky shoreline. Lots of life that can be found. Water plus sunshine is going to equal the right resources for life to be able to be there. A couple of terms that we want you to know related to these rocky intertidal zones. Wave shock is the force that gets exerted over and over and over again. Anything that lives there has to be able to withstand getting pounded by the waves over and over. Sessile is an organism that attaches or anchors to a substrate or some kind of hard surface. Barnacles are a good example of this. They don't want to swim around, right? They want to attach to something and spend their life there. Desiccation is the term that we use for the drying out of an organism due to exposure to the sun and the air. So these marine organisms in these rocky intertidal zones may get caught in a tide pool. The water may not be much in that tide pool. It evaporates. The organism is left there. It's supposed to be in the water, but now it is exposed fully to the elements, and that's not a good situation. Desiccation, which will ultimately lead to death. Looking at sandy beaches. These are harsh environments. That's the blank we're looking for there. The sand is constantly moving around. It can get really hot. There's not many resources. So you're going to have some things like crustaceans, some different types of crabs, anything that can burrow, things that are going to have a hard exoskeleton to protect it from the sun, things that have some way of protecting itself or getting it away from the direct impact of the sun. Estuaries are your next one close to the shoreline. This is where rivers meet the ocean. You're typically going to have brackish water here, which is a combination of salt and fresh water. Marine nurseries. Estuaries are known for being marine nurseries, meaning lots of organisms, not just fish, but certainly including fish, will come here to give birth or to lay eggs, or different ways that reproduction takes place, but they will treat these estuaries as a nursery. Salt marshes, just want you to know the definition here, that they're a waterlogged land along an estuary, but it still has a lot of well-rooted flowers and grasses especially. Those are referred to as salt marshes. Mangroves are our other near-shore ecosystem. They're going to be mangroves themselves are the only species of tree in the world that can tolerate salt water. These also often serve as marine nurseries, and they are very important in that they protect against storm surges, especially important in places like the Florida Keys, where storms are big storms coming through or a regular occurrence. They help protect against those storm surges. Moving on to coral. Pretty good chance there's going to be 1 or 2 questions here on the test related to coral. So coral are classified as cnidarians. They're characterized by the presence of stinging cells. These stinging cells are called nematocysts. That's your blank there in the parentheses. It's NEMATOCYSTS, nematocysts. Basically, they're like tiny little jellyfish. They live with an algae. These polyps, these cnidarians, they live with an algae that is referred to as a zooxanthellae. And then they form a calcium carbonate shell around itself. For growth, coral need a substrate, something hard to attach to, be a rock, for the settlement of that first polyp, and then they need optimal light for the zooxanthellae. and then a narrow temperature range as well. Let's see, coral stress. This is probably the term that's going to show up on your exam, will be bleaching. This coral stress leads to what's known as bleaching, where the coral turns white and then the polyp expels the algae. There is tough competition also. We want you to know this. Lots of competition, even between the coral, not just within a coral reef system between other fish there, but between the coral themselves. Tough competition for space and light. They may potentially sometimes sting each other. And looking at the deep ocean here, the epipelagic is the top zone, but the term that we're going to look for right under the epipelagic to get to where we're in the deep ocean now, no longer at the surface, but in the deep ocean, is mesopelagic. That's our first blank there under deep ocean. Many mesopelagic animals undergo a vertical migration, which is the largest migration on Earth. Largest is the word we're looking for there. Mesopelagic might have things like cephalopods, things like octopuses and squids. May be there. Most mesopelagic fish, though, are small, and they tend to have large eyes, too. There's a little bit of light there, and so large eyes to be able to take in that little bit of light. Once you get below that, you've got the bathypelagic, abyssopelagic, and hadopelagic. There is complete darkness now in all three of these, other than the bioluminescence that does occur in a number of species. It's going to be very cold. It's also going to be very high pressure is the term that we're looking for there. So complete darkness and high pressure. Read 2 blanks for that one. And then to finish it out, once you're in those deep, deep zones, the fish there have small or no eyes. Sometimes they don't even have eyes. There's no point for some organisms down there because there's no light. They're often going to have flabby bodies, large mouths. The flabby bodies are because they're not chasing anything around. No darkness, so they don't hunt in that sense of like chasing something around or getting chased. Many are hermaphrodites, it's hard to find a mate, so they can play the role of either the male or female in reproduction if they find a member of the same species. And then they're going to feed largely on marine snow. We definitely want you to know that term. Marine snow is dead matter that falls above from the ocean and eventually works its way into the deep. There you have it. That's Unit 8. There's all your study guide stuff. It has been a great year. It has been a pleasure to be your marine science teacher. Please take your time on the test and do as well as you can. Good luck, and then have a great summer. Peace.